Welcome to day number 1 of our headache relief series. One of the things that we're going to start with today is a ball. It doesn't necessarily matter what kind of ball. I'd encourage you to get one that is something like a lacrosse ball as far as the density goes. You could get a lacrosse ball, you could get a trigger point ball or a therapy ball in some way. It needs to be firm enough that you can actually dig in a little bit though. So using something like a squash ball probably won't work, or an inflatable ball. You want something with just a little bit of meat to it. Preferably not as hard as a baseball, as soft as something inflatable, but anything in between will do. It doesn't have to be this size, it could be slightly bigger or slightly smaller, but you're going to want some sort of ball for us to get started. And the reason being, we're going to start by addressing a lot of the muscles that are common causes of headaches. So the base of our skull on the back is one of the areas that we're going to spend a lot of time working. And one of the reasons is because these muscles on the base of your skull are actually the place that is going to be a major cause of headaches for a lot of people. These little muscles do a lot to control the wobble of your head, and they actually are integrated with your eyeballs as well. So if you're doing something like scanning back and forth looking at a screen, or you're doing something like looking down at a phone, these muscles actually get a lot of strain, both from holding your head up, but also from the eye movements. So the first area that we are going to work on with the ball is an area that we call the suboccipital area. Sub meaning below, and your occiput is the base of your skull. So the area we're going to be working on is right as your skull meets your neck. This group of muscles that's in here is what we would call the headache muscles. You can probably see why we're going to work on them. So generally speaking, these muscles control the tiny little movements of your head. They hold your skull up when you're tilted forward a little bit. And one of the things that they do is they actually activate differently depending on what your eyes are doing as well. So in today's day and age, when we spend a lot of time focused on phones, focused on books, focused on laptops and things like cooking and small areas in front of us, these tiny little eye movements that we have back and forth put a lot of strain on these muscles, because these muscles move as your eyes move, because they're meant to help you move your head as well. So we're going to start by getting a ball into that area, and we're going to put a little bit of pressure in them. The reason I say a little bit of pressure is because we're going to start light. A lot of people are going to find as we go through this course, they can put a little bit more pressure into these areas over time, and that's entirely fine. But for day number 1, it's very important that you start very light. So you're going to start by taking the ball. You can place it either fingertips or in your palm, and you're just going to press lightly into that area at the base of your skull, and you're going to do about 20 seconds of rolling around in a small circular pattern or slightly back and forth side to side. Got 20 seconds starting now. Feel free to explore around a little bit too. Go up and down a little bit until you find some areas that you feel like might give you some relief. Good. So there's 20 seconds on one side. One thing you might notice is that your arms can get tired doing this. That's entirely normal. If you have a partner that is willing to do a little bit of this work for you, that is entirely acceptable, as long as you have the capacity to tell them that they need to go either lighter or harder and they're going to listen. It's entirely acceptable to have a partner doing this for you. So now we're going to take ball on the other hand. We're going to spend 20 seconds on the exact same spot on the other side at the base of our skull. So get the ball into place, and we've got about 20 seconds starting now. Just a few more seconds here. Good. And that's it. So that was fairly gentle to start. What I want you to know is that you can go harder on this spot as we progress. This is probably the spot of all the spots that you will want to go a little bit harder on as we go through the next few days. That's entirely normal. However, the next spot that we're going to go to, you don't want to go too hard. And that's because we're going to do the sides of the neck. So the sides of the neck are actually really common impersonators and referrers of pain. So a lot of the time people get pain, get tightness in these muscles, and when they have issues here, it tends to send pain up their head, sometimes to their jaw, their forehead, the back of the head. It could be almost anywhere. But what you want to do is also know that you could be sending a little bit of pain down into your shoulders. It's very important that you're gentle, because there are some nerves in here and there's some things that regulate your blood pressure in here as well. So you never want to be pushing as hard as you can in here. You just want to be pushing gently and trying to do a little bit of work. There's a big muscle in here called your SCM, which is this big diagonal one you can see. That's the one that we want to be trying to focus on. So it's going to go from behind your ear down to your collarbone, but you can generally go anywhere. I don't want you to go near the front in these areas. I want you to make sure you're going essentially right below the ear. So we're going to do about 20 seconds right below the ear. Again, you can do this yourself or you can do it with a partner, but we're going to place just below the ear, not on the bone, but just below. We're going to go about 20 seconds. I'd encourage you to roll top to bottom on this one, starting now. If you find that doing it with the same side shoulder is difficult because your shoulder starts to fatigue, you can always reach across and use the other arm as well. Good. There's 20 seconds on one side. So one of the things that you'll figure out is that if you have to twist your head or you have to move aggressively to get into position, the muscles are going to be so tight and they're going to be hard to dig into. So it's important, if you can, to try to get into as much of a relaxed position as you can and find the easiest way to get your hands up towards your neck and head. Because if you can do it with very little muscular effort, what you're going to find is that you can dig in a little bit more and you have a little bit more of an effect. So we're going to switch to the other side now. We're going to go right below the ear on the muscles, not on the skull, but the muscles themselves. And you're going to just be going straight up and down. We're going to do 20 more seconds on the other side, starting now. Remember to go gentle. Some of you might experience a little bit of referral pain into the shoulder or into the head. That's entirely fine, just as long as we're going gentle for now. Good. And there's 20 seconds done with the ball. So we're going to be using the ball for different areas of our body throughout this course. So I'd encourage you to get a ball that you actually really like and the pressure feels good for you. You can use probably a lacrosse ball is one of the most commonly used densities, that it's grippy enough, it'll stay on your skin. It's soft enough that it can dig in a little bit, but not too much. You can find a lacrosse ball at almost any sporting goods. So next, we are going to do a little bit of stretching. So the goal of these stretches is not purely to stretch the neck, it's actually to stretch the muscles that attach from the neck to your head, because those are the muscles that we're trying to address. Those are the muscles that are commonly going to give us things like headaches. So it's important that for most of these, you don't slouch down any further than you naturally would. One of the things we tend to see with stretches is that people kind of slouch away from them. What I want you to try to do is to maintain a tall posture for all this. It doesn't mean it has to be upright and rigid. I just want you to try to get tall and get upright in your chair. So the first thing that we're going to do is a sideways stretch. And again, we're going to hold for 20 seconds. I have a slight warning for you on this one. Some people, depending on how stiff their neck is, they might actually get a little bit lightheaded. If this is you, please don't do this, or please try a different range of motion or go gentler. If you're getting lightheaded through the 20 seconds of this stretch, please call it off, okay? So we're gonna sit up straight. We are going to reach our hand to the opposite side of our head, just above our ear. So we're going to be placing our hand above our ear. We're going to be trying to maintain our chin down and our nose forward, and we're going to pull this way. I don't want you pulling down. I don't want you compressing this way. I want you acting as if you're trying to pull the skin above your ear up and over to the other side. So you're going to be pulling this way, like I'm pulling up here with these hands. So again, we're going to do about 20 seconds of pulling just above the ear, starting now. What most of us should be feeling is a stretch somewhere along the side, below our ear, maybe a little bit to the front, maybe a little bit to the back. All of those are acceptable. Just try to maintain an upright posture and make sure you're nice and tall as you're doing this. In just a few more seconds, and then gently let go. It's important as you do these that you get into it very gently on the way in and gently on the way out. So we're going to try the other side. We're going to reach over to the skin right above our ear. We're going to pull up and over that way, and we're going to do that for about 20 seconds, starting now. So because this is day one, it's important that you do everything relatively gently. You'll know after a couple of days whether or not you can go a little more aggressive, but for today, we start light. And we're done there, and I want you to gently let go. Perfect. So the last thing that we're going to do for day number one is what we call retractions. So I want you to visualize like a turtle pulling their head back into their shell. It's not necessarily that they're bending in any which direction. They're actually keeping everything forward facing, but just pulling their head backwards. So for this one, what you're going to be trying to do is take your chin, your nose, and your forehead. You're going to try to take them straight back, and you're going to try to do it primarily with your neck. Meaning the temptation is going to be to do it with your lower back, your upper back, and your chest and your ribs. What I want you to try to do is to maintain this still and take the rest and push it back. So in most people, what should happen is you're actually going to give yourself a little bit of a double chin. That's exactly how it should go. You're not going to actually give yourself a double chin. That last is just going to be during the exercise. But what this is meant to do is to open up the back of your neck a little bit by pushing straight back. So you're going to do the same thing in that you're going to make sure you're tall as you're doing this. And you're going to start by putting one hand across the bottom of your ribs. And the other hand, you can either just use on your forehead. Most people should use it right below the nose. You're going to take the web of your thumb and first finger right below the nose where a mustache would be and push straight back. You don't have to push very hard. You're just going to be pushing straight back. So we're going to be doing this. So we're going to do 15 repetitions of this. A lot of people will feel a little bit of discomfort at the base of their skull when we start. That should get a little bit better as we go. And if it's still uncomfortable at the end, just make sure you're gentle as we progress through this, okay? So we're going to put one hand on ribs, one hand right below the nose, and we're going to push straight back 15 times. It's important that you do this under control the whole time. It's not necessarily that you have to push hard. You just need to make sure you have control of the whole thing. Good. There's 15. And that's it for day number 1. So we started relatively gentle, and you might have a hard time seeing exactly how this is going to play out. But believe me, it will get a little bit easier as we go. Your muscles, your joints, your tendons, your ligaments, your head, your jaw, your eyes, it will all get used to it. So as you go through this course, always err on the side of being a little more gentle because you have access to this course now and you can come back and do this a few more times if you need to. So I want you to make sure you're getting some long-lasting relief out of this. It's important for you to start gentle and make sure you just progress slowly as we go through the days. I look forward to seeing you on day number 2.